Welcome to It's Pretty Personal, a podcast all about sharing South Asian stories. Happy Diwali, Diwali, and Bandi Chorr Divas. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Hi. This is the podcast all about sharing South Asian stories and to have everyday conversations, but from the lens of being a British South Asian girlie. And in this week, we're going to be trying something different. It's just me today. I am doing a solo episode, and I've done solo episodes before, but this is the first time I'm doing a solo episode like this, where we're breaking down certain South Asian holidays. Now, I grew up being Punjabi and Sikh, and I'm born and raised in London, so I'm a London Punjabi Sikh girlie. And for me, I celebrate Bandi Chorr Divas. But growing up, I felt like not many people knew about Bandi Chorr Divas. I think a lot of them didn't understand what it was about, or they would just bucket it all as Diwali. And I think for me, it's actually really interesting because the South Asian subcontinent in itself is so diverse and there's so many different communities and sub communities and religions. And so many of us celebrate these different holidays. So I'm trying a new series on the podcast where we break down different South Asian holidays and talk more about how we celebrate, what they are about, because it might even just be something that you find interesting and you learn something. I definitely found it really interesting when I was researching this episode. So I have my iPad because I did some research. But also, I think it's really cool because there might be certain people like your friends or family members or people in your community who might celebrate a completely different holiday to you. And now, maybe listening to this, you will understand why they celebrate that or what they do. And hopefully, it can spark conversation. And this is actually a little bit of an ode to like my corporate diversity and inclusion career because I used to write the comms for Diwali, or I used to approve the comms for Diwali. And I remember every single time my feedback used to be the same. And it's like Diwali is celebrated by different communities across the Indian subcontinent. And it's important to be inclusive of those that, for example, Sikhs celebrate Bandi Chorr Divas, which happens to also be on the same day as Diwali. I think being in the UK and all coming from like South Asia, I think a lot of our festivities kind of get bucketed into one, where I think everyone kind of just uses the umbrella term Diwali when actually certain different communities actually celebrate it in different ways. And I think it's actually really interesting to kind of talk about that. So that's what we're going to do today. If you're new here, then please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and comment below how you're going to be celebrating. And yeah, let's get into the episode. So, why is Diwali called the Festival of Lights? So, it comes from the Sanskrit word of Deepa, which means light or lamp, and the Sanskrit word Avali, which means row or line. So, it basically translates to row of lights. And I think many of us know Diwali as the Festival of Lights because it's like loads of like diyas and candles and lamps and fireworks. I can't be the only one, but this is like a very cool memory for me where like my dad would tell me off for like not turning off the light, like if I've forgotten to turn the light on, and he would literally be like, "Oh my god, it's not Diwali, you can't turn all the lights on." And I don't know why, it just really reminded me of that because I used to get told off for doing that, like growing up. Or he would like come into the house and be like, "It's not Diwali today, like why are all the lights on?" It's actually such a beautiful holiday if you think about it. Like, how cool is it that we get to like light candles and just like what it symbolizes as well. So something I was actually wondering was like, why does the date always change? And the reason behind it is because Diwali is actually a lunar holiday, so it's based on the moon, and Diwali is supposed to be celebrated on the new moon. And what basically happens is that when they use the Hindu lunar calendar, the date when they translate it to the Western calendar, which is like the solar Gregorian calendar, it changes every single time because of the way the moon patterns are as well. So sometimes it's in October, sometimes it's in November. It constantly changes. And that's just because of the way the moon and the stars align. So, how do different South Asian communities celebrate Diwali? Now, the main three that I'm going to focus on in this episode are Hinduism, Sikhism, and Jainism. Now, for many Hindus, Diwali is actually tied to the Ramayana, and you might have heard the story of Ram and Sita. Now, the center figure in this story is actually Lord Rama. He was the crown prince of Ayodhya and was seen to be the ideal king. But because of palace politics, Ram was actually sent to exile for 14 years and was joined by his wife Sita and his brother Lakshmana, who decided to go with him. During their exile, Sita was actually kidnapped by a demon king called Ravana and was taken to Lanka. And this sparked an epic battle. With the help of Hanuman and an army of monkeys, Ram eventually defeats Ravana and rescues Sita. When the family finally returned to Ayodhya after those long 14 years, the people of the kingdom were so happy. To welcome them home, they lit thousands of clay little lamps, lined the streets, rooftops, and courtyards. People say that it glowed and shined so bright that it looked like daytime. And that's why Diwali is called the Festival of Lights. It's about welcoming good back into the world and celebrating victory over darkness, good over evil. And today, many Hindus light diyas and decorate their homes as a way to celebrate this story and this ancient tradition and showcasing that good always prevails over evil. So, on the same day as Diwali, Sikhs actually celebrate Bandi Chorr Divas. The story is about Guru Har Gobind Ji, the sixth Sikh Guru, and he was imprisoned by the Mughal Empire Jahangir in Gwalior Fort. And when the emperor finally agreed to release him, Guruji refused unless the other 52 kings and princes who were imprisoned with him were also freed. The emperor said, okay, fine, but only the ones that can hold onto your cloak are able to be freed. So Guruji actually did something really special, and he made a robe of 52 tassels, one for each prince to hold on to. That way, all 52 of them were released. When he returned to Amritsar, people lit up Harmandir Sahib, which is the Golden Temple, with candles and lamps, and it was a way to celebrate their return. So for Sikhs, it's not as much about the story about Ram and Sita, but it's a story of freedom, justice, and community. Now, Jains actually celebrate Diwali for a little bit of a different reason, and I really hope I'm getting the pronunciation of this right, but I'm so sorry if I'm not. So, for Jains, Diwali is all about Lord Mahavir, the 24th Tirankara, basically a spiritual teacher. On Diwali night, Mahavir attained moksha, or liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So, Jains is not about battles or kings, but spiritual freedom. They light lamps to symbolize the inner light of knowledge that Mahavir left behind, guiding others after he was gone. In fact, Jains mark Diwali as both a time of mourning and celebration, mourning his physical departure but also celebrating his ultimate liberation. For some Jain communities, it's also the end of their religious year. So Diwali is also treated like a New Year celebration with prayers, fasting, and reflection. Now, that was actually really interesting to learn more about loads of different cultures. I think from my perspective, I love the fact that everyone celebrates Diwali in slightly a different way. I also love the fact that, like, especially now, like brands and companies are like really trying to like lean into that angle and aspect of it, of like celebrating Diwali. Like, even if you go into Tesco's or like a supermarket here in the UK, you will see like a whole Diwali section. That's when the rice is on discount, by the way. And I think that's so special for so many of us who actually have never really felt seen or kind of been feeling like we're in these two different cultures. Like, I can definitely speak for myself. Like, I was the only Sikh kid in my school until my brother turned up. And then we were the only two Sikh kids. And I think for me, like, there was never really much mention about Bandi Chorr Divas. I think even in the school textbooks, it was just like, oh, Sikhs and Hindus celebrate Diwali. And I didn't know until I got older and I went to the Gurdwara and I actually understood the fact that, oh, like, Sikhs celebrate a completely different holiday compared to Hindus and Jains. And I was like, that's so interesting. I feel like also being the only Sikh girl in my school, like Diwali was kind of like the perfect way to like take a day off school because it's for religious reasons, because it's a religious holiday. And in my school, they used to have Christmas off, but any other festivities, if you were like from a different religion, you can kind of like take the day off and your mum just had to like write in a note. But my parents never let me take Diwali off. Like every single time, I still had to go to school because we used to celebrate in the evening. And then they're like, well, we don't want you to miss school. So you're going. And I remember like going in and like the kids would be like, why are you here? Like, isn't it like a religious day? And then I had to go for like, yeah, but we do this and this and this and this. In hindsight, I wish I like did have the day off, but I was also a geeky, nerdy kid at school. So I actually enjoyed going to school. I think everyone also celebrates in a little bit of a different way. And I think it really depends on like family as well. I think for me, my family's quite small. And we, like I said, we just go to the Gurdwara. We actually light candles at home first. And I don't know why, but we always light a candle in the bathroom. I don't know if this is a thing. I don't know if it's just a me family thing, but we all light candles at home and then we go to the Gurdwara and we light candles there. And then we just listen to Bart and eat langar. And like, it's really nice to be able to spend that with community and like the people around us as well. I think also as a kid, I used to go to Punjabi school and I used to only see my Punjabi school friends on a weekend. So I used to also look forward to going to the Gurdwara because I'm like, oh my God, I get to see my Punjabi school friends because we all used to go to different schools. I think for me, like the kind of tradition of lighting candles has been really special. I think for me, it's a way to remember that with all the darkness that can happen. And I think sometimes like the world can be a dark place, or I think sometimes we go through personal struggles that can also be quite dark. And going and lighting a candle for me is almost like this feeling of hope and this feeling of things will always get better, or the darkness will pass. Or even if you're in the darkness, there is this glimmer of light that it will all get better. And I'm going to quote Professor Dumbledore from the Harry Potter films, but I remember when he was like, happiness can be found at the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. And I think that is so relatable to me and Diwali. And I think also this year, 2025, I think for me on a really personal level has been one of the toughest years of my life. And it's been a really dark time. And oh my God, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. And I think there was a time that I really felt like this darkness was never going to end and I was never going to see the light. And I think it's taken me months to kind of get to this position where I really feel like there is now hope and things are getting better. And I'm like trying to find my spark again and all of these different things. I don't know why I just got a bit emotional, but I think for me, it's this year more importantly than ever. It's actually almost like such a reminder that sometimes we need to go through that darkness in order to be able to shine brighter. And I think having just this physical embodiment of that can be such a powerful reminder. Just even something as small as lighting a candle in the dark makes you just realize that there is love and there is light and there is happiness and there is good in the world in a time where I think things look really bleak. Better times and better days are coming. And I think that level of hope and that level of light can be so special. And if you're someone who's also had not the best 2025 so far, I think Diwali is also a very nice way to kind of remind yourself that like it does get better and like your spark will return. The reason I got so emotional was because I remember like where I was back when I was during that dark time and now me now and just like it isn't more about the situation, it's more about how proud I feel of myself to be able to get out of that because there was a time that I felt like I just couldn't get out of it. But whatever you're doing, I really wish you a happy Diwali, Deep Diwali, or Bandi Chorr Divas, and may it be really special and that you're able to spend it with the people you love, friends and family, and it's a joyous and fun occasion. So I wish you so much love and thank you so much for listening to this little episode. Sorry, I got a bit emotional. I don't know if I will add the emotional bits or not, but I also really hope that you learned something new from this episode. And let me know what you thought of this episode. Like, did you enjoy it? Did you learn something new? Do you want to do more South Asian holiday deep dives? Honestly, just let me know your thoughts in the comments below or on Instagram or TikTok at Pretty Personal. I will link it all down in the episode description for you to follow. So yeah, that was the episode. I really, really hope you liked it. And yeah, if you want to share this with a friend, or if you is a work colleague or someone that you know that you think would really benefit from learning more about what Diwali is, or if someone keeps asking you every single year, oh, why do you celebrate Diwali? We all know we have that one work colleague who always says it. Just send him this episode and be like, here you go. This is a very interesting deep dive of why we celebrate different holidays, right? So they can stop coming to you and asking you why. If you don't like the conversation, if you like the conversation, feel free, explain it to them. And yeah, I really, really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.